I thought we'd start, because we've had no time to process the trip, with, firstly, what are your impressions of India? Because I don't think anyone has arrived from this rarefied world on the side of the Spanish Steps and dive straight into a snan at the Maha Kumbh. So, would you like to share what you...
Yeah, of course. Buonasera. I'm saying in Italian, because I'm proud to be Italian. And this is my first time in India. I've been invited by Rasna, and I have to thank Rasna and, of course, Tarun, because he made me feel at home here in India. And that's the best gift I could have once arriving here. We experienced it together, Kumbh, and it was such an experience, actually. It was visually and something that I couldn't expect, and so intense, beautiful in the craziness too. And we had beautiful hours there that I just was trying to catch with my phone, with my Leica, with my everything. But the best I have in my heart, because it's what I felt, what I experienced there. So thank you, Tarun, and all the friends that were joining us. It's fantastic. I really felt something about India, I think, with Kumbh. Everybody, I'm saying, I arrived there 3-4 days ago, and I did Kumbh. Did you do Kumbh? It's like the first, really? But of course, it's such an intense experience. And you can get a lot about even the culture, because that's what I'm interested in, to see the culture, the people, the humanity, and that's what makes us all unique. So seeing, attending Kumbh, you really feel the power of humanity, the power of faith, and how people want to express themselves. Because it's, there's something that has to do even with fashion, I think. The need of expression, of self-expression, and it was really, really strong. Then Varanasi as well. Benares was another dimension, I think, another magical place out of space, of time, where you can get that beauty, that romantic, decadent beauty that to me is related to India as well as in Roma. There's a sort of romanticism that is really interesting to me.
Great. I mean, it was very strong an experience even for us Indians. So I'm quite amazed that you took to it. He was out round the clock photographing things, and once in a while he'd show me a photograph and say, look, I use this color, you know, one of the saffrony oranges in a couture collection, or I use this. Because I think there are very few designers in the world, especially if you work with color as much as he does, where India hasn't featured in their consciousness, right? Because, I mean, that kind of imagery.
But we have to say this, that Tarun has been nice enough to give to all of us capes, trousers, to be into Kumbh in another way.
And so we have been draping. To stick out. So I just quickly made everybody cotton robes and dhoti pants and capes, and we look like our own little akhada roaming around, I think. Yeah, you know, why not?
Why not?
TT and PP, the new akhada. And there was a big TT underwear banyan sign up there, which was very disconcerting for me. But anyway.
Just out from our motorbike draping into the craziness.
So that's good. Would you like to share, since you've had such an incredible design career, what you think were significant moments since the time you left college and came to where you are today?
I left college yesterday.
I know. No, so in the last 24 hours, since the Comintern.
No, it's, of course, it's very difficult to find some moments. You mentioned before the Spanish Steps, and of course that's one of the moments. Probably that was an important moment to me because being Valentina's creative director, a solo creative director, it was even different from working together. When you work together, you have to share your vision, you have to share that vision of beauty that related to the times you're living, but it's less personal, of course, because if you are two, you have to give a reason for every choice. Once alone, I experienced that fashion is a language to express your own emotions, your own values, what you stand up for. And so everything becomes more overlapped because between your life and your job. So it becomes more intense, everything. And Spanish Steps was something I really wished to do since I was a kid, because in Italy there was this TV show that was called Donna sotto le stelle, and it was a show with many designers showing part of the collection. And since then, since 80s, anything else was done on the Spanish Steps. So I asked it to do that show there. And when I was a kid, I used to go there to attend to this huge TV show live in the street. There's Via Condotti. It's full of people there. So I really wanted, once I was, the day before the show, I was up on the stairs with Labyrinth, who is a friend of mine. He was curating the soundtrack. I was there, I saw the people in the street in Via Condotti where I used to be. Actually, I was living outside from Roma. I grew up in the seaside by Roma. And I used to sleep in the station waiting for the train the next morning. So it was an experience as well. So being there, I was remembering when I was a kid and I was there in the street, and then I was up on the Spanish Step. And I realized that I still want to be that kid in the street, not the one on the step. Because I think it's important when you do fashion, when you do whatever has to do with your own personal creativity, to have enchanted eyes, to have that kind of enchantment in the eyes, and not to do what people expect you to do. And that's for that reason I invited at the Spanish Steps show. I invited 150 students from fashion school in Roma. In a way, that was a way for me to invite myself, the kid that was at the show. And so when the show started, and that was, of course, had a lot to do with the atelier, with the people. So I can name a lot of moments, but that one was important for me because it was maybe the most personal.
Was that your finale show?
No, it was not my finale show.
The other one where you had all the people from
But
the
that was the very first time I was thinking, maybe I'm done. Maybe I've done everything I had to do here.
Valentino.
Yes. And of course, sorry, I speak a lot. The other show I did, a moment I will take with me was the show in 2019 Couture, when I decided to cast 50 black ladies for the show and doing a couture show with the idea of equality, of uniqueness. And I think that was a message very important because there was a moment very emotional for all the guests that were there. And that show, the one Naomi closed, was very intense as well.
So, there's always a contradiction between social responsibility, I think, and consumption. Vivian Westwood always would say, buy less, buy better, and use it. We have to do that for the planet today. But when we sit with the board of directors, and you were working, in this big company, the board of directors wants to know how much you've grown, and therefore how much more people have consumed. So how do you, in your head, balance? Because we're all faced with this dilemma. How does one deal with this? So how do you, in a way, deal with this contradiction in a way?
It's tough. It's a moment when I think we have, as designer, we have a social responsibility. So you have to lead. At least you have to give an idea of how to face society in the moment you're working. Actually, about this is very difficult because it's very oxymoric. We offer more and more, and we say buy less. So it's a bit contradictional, but probably the idea is to do something with the quality. If you do quality, if you follow your own path, you're not trying to follow every kind of trend,
try not to be everything to everybody and just listen to
exactly.
your voice.
To do your own path maybe is the best way to fix that contradiction, but it will stay. And I think at this moment the system says that there's this contradiction is tough to face. Yeah.
So you've gone from small town to big global fame. Pierpaolo still commutes back home to, I understand, Nyono, is that how you pronounce it, 45 minutes south of Rome. I'm curious, how have you stayed so grounded? I'd read about you heading back and hanging at your brother's bar. We've just traveled for 4 days. My definition of cool is to stay grounded in this age of projection. And yet one has to do what one has to do to promote the brand. All compete fiercely with one another for a place in the sun. What would you say has been your way of coping? Because you have coped very well in,
I had a very good friend of mine was Franca Sozzani. Franca used to say, if you work very seriously, you don't have to take yourself too serious. So I believe that if you don't have to be in stereotypes, in cliché of the designer, of the one, because my passion is my job, so I could project all my fantasies, all my values into my job, and keeping myself as a person I am. I never wanted to be the design director. I always thought that being Pierpaolo is the most important way to be a good designer, because if not, you become generic. As you said, I come from a small place like this near Roma, from a very normal family. And I think that what you were defines what you are. So I don't want to deny what I was. I'm still there, I still live there. And there was a moment in my career when, this fantastic communication team says, maybe it's better you don't say you come from Nettuno. I said, why not? This is what I come from. Yeah. So I don't, because it was not cool. Yeah. I think that trying hard to be cool is the uncoolest thing you can do.
It's the uncoolest thing. I couldn't agree with you
I think
more.
And so I just very faithful to who I am. And then I have my family that keeps me very grounded, because for your kids you are always dad, you do mistakes, and so it's impossible to feel like the king of something. My wife same. So
he says, much like we all went through, when he started out after school and he took a job as a designer, his family like, what the hell is this job? He said, there were 4 brands in Italy pretty much at that time. And even there was resistance. when I used to say this to my father, finally I'm going to go to design school. He said, you're becoming a tailor? I sent you to Wharton. Are you crazy? But that's what they thought. And now what do they think? I'd love to know.
They're very proud, actually, of course, but they still don't really understand all my choices. So it's normal. I think that for them, first, before I wanted to do a design school, I wanted to be a director when I was 13.
A film director.
A film director, not anything to do with fashion. Then from cinema I went to photography, and from photography I went to fashion photography. I understood that even with a picture you can tell a story. I'm always been interested in telling stories, but stories of people, not big stories. I think that small things gives you much more emotional vision about people. So I'm still thinking that doing fashion for me is also telling stories, doing a sort of movie every time.
Yeah, it's very much also about, pouring emotions into a collection, which are intangible, but if it comes through, then, people see it when it's on the ramp. You've also been one of the big champions of inclusivity, not just with black models, because that had happened in Paris, Saint Laurent had started that in the 90s or 80s, but you did a show with very large women, I think after COVID, and there of late I've seen almost like a great androgynous feel to some of particularly the men in the shows.
Yeah.
What else did you do, or, what were the messages that you were trying to put out through all of this?
Repeat the question. What's the question?
Well, just what all did you do for inclusivity? Because fashion has always been forward and inclusive.
But actually, talking about inclusivity and equality today, still thinking about this rather than just acting, I feel that it's done. We have to do it. So that's why I did a show about different proportions of bodies. When you do couture, you have a mannequin and you work on that mannequin. So the idea is to reply that body on a show for 50, 60 times. And so I wanted to break the rule working with different kind of bodies.
So did you have to do a casting 1 or 2 months before to get the measurements?
I did 4 months ago. I did a casting of, say, 12 girls with different proportions in order to have different bodies, different shapes of bodies, not just... I don't believe when you do, say, one show with 50 super skinny girls and one big girl.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
You fill a box. I think that it's important to really believe in this. I did the show. I did the Spanish Step show was about the idea of having because of Donna Sotto le Stelle was the beginning, the TV show. In the TV show there was the celebration of perfection, of hedonism. It was about 80s, and so I was questioning what's going to be different in this show, because our job is about giving an idea of beauty, a personal idea of beauty, but relating to the times we're living. If I was doing the Spanish Step show with a beautiful casting of beautiful girls, perfect girls, it was not about this time. I feel that in this moment the beauty relies in the uniqueness, in the way of being very personal, individual. So I casted a lot of people, different people, because I wanted to do a sort of manifesto of anti-democratics. So doing like many black girls on the show, but having also guys wearing clothes from very Valentino world, so super romantic, but worn by guys that could look even like girls. I think that it's important not to do provocation, but just not to provoke, because if you provoke, people in a way keep a wall. Yeah. If you get the emotion, if you see a guy wearing a very feminine dress. And you don't really understand if it's a guy or a girl, but you get the emotion of something beautiful. It's more difficult to go back and think, I don't have to think that it's beautiful because it's a man wearing a woman. So it's something that has to be subtle. That's the power of the image. Sometimes you can see something, feeling an emotion of beauty, and think it, and that's the way we can progress. We have to break the rules, but in a very subtle way. When I was mentioning the Black Girls Lady collection, because the beginning idea was, what if you do a couture show? Couture has to do with beautiful salon, Cecil Beaton picture, the Swan Girls. What if we have the same salon, the same kind of dresses, grand, beautiful, but rather than this one dress, girls, you have black ladies from today, so very modern, contemporary. And when we saw at the very end of the finale, that picture, Cecil Beatonish picture with these ladies, it was normal. Anything's very provoking, but that normality to me was the real result. If my neighbors can think that was normal, to have couture with 50 black ladies, to me was normal. And for me, that was a need. I didn't do the collection because I wanted to do to match the color with the color of the dresses. I wanted to say, in Italy there was a moment of very tough moment of xenophobia, and in politics,
recently
in
because
politics.
of the immigration.
So I felt that I had to do something on my own way, because if you do beauty and if you create beauty but it's not relating to the times, you do half of your job. If you don't stand up for something, you do half of your job. I feel to have a responsibility as designer. We have a voice, and when you have a loud voice, I think you have to stand up even for people that don't have voice.
I think that's great. Big hand. Also, Pierpaolo, you've done a lot of brand extensions that are interesting and quite different and take it to the street. I've seen a big, I think, Moncler puffer jacket, almost like a gown. Was that fun? Did you learn? Did you do it for, what was the purpose for a brand like Valentino? By the way, they started as accessories designers, and you're telling me the rock stud shoe sells 1 million pairs a year, and that's wow.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? And they still sell every single day, and you can tell that Valentino shoe from a mile off. It doesn't need the V, it's there. Anyway.
But to me, it's interesting when you're not in a comfort zone as creative. Once you do something good, if you indulge in seeing what good was what you did, I think you don't progress, you don't move forward. To me, it's always interesting when you question yourself about what's next. I get bored in one moment. And
I think
so
you have some kind of ADD to be a good designer. You have to keep moving to the next thing.
Yes, but
I mean, that's
to me, it's
drug.
very important to think, what if now? What if you do something that you cannot say, when you use colors, you don't create colors, no? But you can create a new way of mixing color.
Of course, and you did
And
that.
so it's like music, it's like doing music. If you know already that you have notes, then the notes are known, and you don't create notes, but you can create a new way of putting together notes. And once you do it, you can create a new music. That's what we have to do, creating new music with something that maybe you already know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's evolutionary. So romanticism and craftsmanship define what he does, timeless femininity and contemporary elegance, all of which resonate with what I always want for my own brand, which is India modern. where we take from the past, from the comb, from anything. I'm not interested in dressing costumes of Royal India. We have to move now for today's life. I'd like to throw the floor open if anybody has any questions that they'd like to address to Pierpaolo, PP as I call him now. Yeah, somebody right here. Would you like the mic? Will you just pass this to him? I'll pass this.
Well, thank you, sir, for spending time here and answering all these questions. From what I've learned in your conversation, everything that you do is intentional. I want to ask about Pink PP that became a huge sensation, sort of became the identity of Valentino itself. And I want to understand what the intention was behind doing that and how the process was.
Everything, as you said, is intentional in what I do. But I learned during years to let my instinct go. And this is something I think that you agree, you learn. It is not something that you do at the very beginning. So once I did the Pink PP collection, was a moment just after COVID. I wanted to do a show to celebrate life and people, and so I wanted, my brief for my teams was to do a show outside. So I went to Paris. They prepared all locations. I went to Paris to scout location for the show, for that show. And I went to see schools, libraries, clubs, places where people can meet, because I wanted that. I wanted to get life into the collection. Then went back in Roma that night. I had a very weird feeling. I didn't know why. I was not aware, but I understood that that was wrong. In that moment, I was reading a book about Lucio Fontana. Fontana says that his cuts are a way to create a parallel universe, a sort of new opportunity. And I felt that night that my feeling was wrong. So I called my teams the morning after and say, stop looking for those locations. I want just a pink room, empty pink room. And they say, why? I don't know why, actually. I feel that we have to do, I don't like the world I'm experiencing now. So I want to create a space behind the world or whatever, but another space. And why pink? Because pink is because I wanted to use one color only, because Lucio Fontana, a lot of Italian artists of the spirit experienced the idea of one color in order to go deeper into the dimension. Because once you use one color, it's like this is an example I always do. When you watch a black and white movie, you understand that you cannot say, I like the blonde girl or the brown coat. You have to go deeper and say, so you see the expression, you see the emotions. And I wanted to cover all the bodies and all the arms, legs with same color in order to be concentrated on the humanity of the people. When you see a face, you don't get a gender or a culture or whatever. You just see what you see. And pink was part of my collection. I don't know why. Everything is almost intentional, but almost. I did, since the very first collection as solo director, at least one pink dress a collection. So that one color was pink PP for me. That's it.
The interesting thing that I also remember is in a lot of your shows, you just meander with beautiful color combinations. It feels very spontaneous. I guess what he says is you just listen to your own inner voice and you create alongside that. And that's really the most powerful guide when you're doing something, you know. So there are always millions of people to tell you what to do. but they're not going to be out there taking responsibility for it in the end.
I think you have to keep the responsibility with the intention of what you deliver as message. But the message is something that is rational, is intentional.
Absolutely.
But then when you work with the instrument, with your own language, fashion is our language, you have to let your instinct flow in a very spontaneous way. So relating with the colors, with the fabric, with embroideries, with the combination, whatever, has to be very spontaneous, has a sort of stream of consciousness. And then at the very end, the two levels, the intentional one and the emotional one, has to collide in one only.
Great. Any other questions?
Hi, thank you so much for being here today. My question was about the role that India plays in Western design.
The role of?
The role of India.
India.
And Indian design. And, as Tarun sir mentioned, it's something that's been in the consciousness of the Western designers. But what do you see as, what kind of a role has India played for you in a design sense? And then also as a customer base, of course. And just generally, what do you see the responsibility of Western designers as being when it comes to kind of using Indian design ethics or using our kind of craft-based practices?
So I think the cultural appropriation is something that you don't have to do. So it's important to be, to me, very close to your own identity. That said, every inspiration to me is something that you can feel, and then you elaborate with your own sensitivity, and it becomes something different. I never been in India before this time, but it was my dream trip. So probably unconsciousness came out, and sometimes during these days I've been, Kumbh, Varanasi, but also here in Delhi. I saw many colors that remind me what I did. So something that is unconscious, but because the world become as one now. So once you see the culture, the people, I think it's right to get together as one. Then when you get inspiration from one thing only and you replicate, that's another stuff. That's another business. It's about. I don't believe in inspiration as imitation. I believe that inspiration has to be filtered, and so if you see the same things, I'm sure that Tarun and me will do something different because we have our own identities and sensibilities. If you do the same, it means that you are imitating an inspiration, not elaborating it.
I think having watched a lot of his stuff, it uses color brilliantly, but it's his own interpretation. I wouldn't say it comes particularly from India or anything. I mean, it's whatever else that he sees or feels or dreams. Anyway, any other questions? There's one last one there. I need a mic over there. We'll do this. Do you need this mic?
Hello, sir.
So I wanted to know if you're actually promoting feelings because you said you use the color pink. And there are a lot of jails outside, like prisons outside of the country, where they use pink to promote humor to a lot of people in the prisons that are actually depressed and feeling low. So are you also promoting feelings through that color pink? Because that is what it actually promotes.
Clearly not.
course not. Maybe I could. No.
Okay. So there was one last one.
Hello.
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 A huge fan of your work. Brilliant, brilliant work. I want to ask you a question. My question would be that how do you each time with each collection stay ahead of the times?
Can you repeat, please?
Each time, each collection, I feel you're always ahead of your time. It's always a fashion forward. How do you do that?
As I was saying before, to me, I don't want to be in a comfort zone. Once I do something, I have to evolve into something different, because if the world changes every collection, every month, every moment, something happens sometimes, no? And it's important to get those changes. If you stay in your comfort zone, you don't move forward, you don't follow what's happening, to me, you don't do your path, your natural path. So it's kind of natural, the progression of collection, ideas, thoughts, and everything. That's why.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to conclude this session because Manish has the next session. And so, thank you all very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Pierpaolo.
No, I have to thank Tarun. I'm so honored to be interviewed by this man that is such a special human being, a very talented artist. So, thank you, Tarun, and grazie.